I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It's a big Super Sunday. We can't say the two words together. But man alive, we're going to bowl you over here with some fantastic real-world Spec Corvette racing action coming to you from one of, quite frankly, my favorite race courses on the planet, Sebring International Raceway, Sebring, Florida. My name is Chris Graham, and we are looking forward to a fantastic 2024 season of the Spec Corvette Series presented by Nankang Tires. We're going to have about 6 to 8 races out of the Southeast region, the full West region schedule as well. And who knows, maybe we might even try to get on location for some of the races in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic regions. Those guys are, quite frankly, just as good of a show. I will bring myself over here on camera. We'll get some of the car audio out of the background. And it is a pleasure to get to hang out with everybody here on, quite frankly, what is a beautiful Sunday across the Northeast part of the U.S. And quite frankly, a beautiful Sunday in Sebring, Florida. We'll head back over to Joey Stoddard's car here and take a look at the weather conditions that we're going to have out here today. Currently 76 degrees, but it feels like 73 because it is humid but breezy. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects the track conditions for these race cars as they get ready to head off on to the starting grid. Sebring is, like I said, it is one of my absolute favorite racetracks on the planet. It is an old World War II airfield, so it's kind of flat, but man alive is it fast. Originally opened in 1950. In fact, December 31st, 1950 was when they held their first race here. It's been through 7 or 8 iterations in various configurations, but it's the first time this season the Spec Corvette cars will head down here. Kamui Kobayashi holds the track record set during the 12 hours of Sebring weekend at a lap time of 1 minute 41.8. That was in a Psycho prototype that these guys are not going to hit anywhere close to that speed today. And quite frankly, it's probably a good thing as we see Joey Stoddard starting to reach up towards some of the controls there. And I think they're going to be getting themselves ready to head out onto the racetrack here very, very shortly. We'll flip over here and pick up, wrong button, but we'll pick up Joel McGee. Take a look from inside of his office as well. A couple of great looks from inside the car. We also have a little bit different look, quite frankly, actually, with Frank Reinhardt, as we'll pick him up as well. And we got 3 cars that we're going to be able to see a ton of out the front of these race cars. And for this afternoon session, we're working on getting about another 6 to 7 cameras, in-car cameras set up here, as we're seeing the drivers get they're getting some sort of a signal there from the track workers. They're getting the wave, that's for sure. Got to thank everybody that tuned in here. Seeing Chawi checking in the comments asking what time is this starting. It's starting about right now. Everything kind of works off of the way the schedules are built for this. Each group gets 20 minutes on the racetrack, but that clock starts at the green flag. So you have the on and off times that go between. We kind of went off of what the estimated time was from this morning that we got from the series, just kind of doing the math, trying to do our own estimating. But it looks like, actually, I think the pace car is just about getting ready to pull out onto the racetrack. Spec Corvette is a big, big deal here and growing in the southeast part of the United States. In fact, we have to say a huge thank you to the Southeast Region SCCA folks. The Spec Corvette is now its own class within the SCCA in the Southeast. It's not a national division yet, but they're working on it. But now, it used to be they were TA2. or the T2 class. The rule book was modified so that in order for basically they incorporated the Spec Corvette rule book into the Southeast region, and that's huge. A lot of work went into that. Cecil Stevens, Bruce Griffin, a handful of people making that change possible, and that's big because now if your Spec Corvette car is basically legal to run everywhere in the SCCA, and that is, like we said, that is just absolutely a huge, huge deal for these guys. Talking about Cecil Stevens a little bit, one of kind of the ringleaders, I guess you would say, of Spec Corvette here in the Southeast. And interesting story on his car. He bought the car as a Valentine's Day gift for his wife, apropos to this weekend before Valentine's Day. Bought it as a gift for his wife for Valentine's Day back in 2019. By 2020, the car was stripped and had a roll cage, and they were getting it ready to go Spec Corvette racing. As it looks like, actually, how about it? I think, well, they're getting the camera set up here, but we do have a look at the start-finish line here at Sebring. We do have an external camera up there this weekend. Hopefully we'll get that one squared away pretty quickly here. We can give you a look from outside the cars as well. We'll head back over here to Joel McGee's machine. We do have timing and scoring data we'll be able to give you basically as soon as the cars are out onto the racetrack. Once they start tripping the timing lines, we will be able to show you all of that as well. So, like we said, season getting ready to kick off here, and quite frankly, it is going to be a big one for the Spec Corvette cars. We have, coming up next weekend, the West Region drivers will kick their season off with a visit to the Truckwalla Valley Raceway. That will be, like we said, that one will be coming up here 1 week from today. That will be a Saturday show and a Sunday show is what we're looking forward to on that one. We'll get all those links posted up for you here as quickly as we can anyway. On board here with Joel McGee. They're getting the whistles and they're getting them fired up. And it is time to go racing here in the Spec Corvette series, and they will be heading out to the grid here very, very shortly indeed. And the McGee Consulting on board with the 66 of Joel McGee. So we are getting the timing and scoring graphics swapped over here. Cars should be heading out to the grid here in just a moment. 20 minutes of racing action is what is on board here for these cars. While we have a moment here, let's take a look at the rules of the road for the Spec Corvette series. These are the C5, so they're 1997 to 2004 Corvettes. Only modifications they're very, very limited. You're allowed to change some brakes. You obviously have to do the safety mods, but the big one, 3,200-pound minimum and a 380 horsepower maximum out of the stock LS6 or LS1 engines. What that means is that the series can take the motor at any time and put the car on a dyno. And if you dyno over 380, you are going to be in a world of trouble. So if they're getting out onto the racetrack, that means it's time for us to give you the starting grid for today's sprint race from Sebring. On the pole with a lap time of 2 minutes, 21.987 seconds out of Miami, Florida, it is Marino Reyes. Starting to his outside from West Palm Beach, Florida in the 0-4. Only about 3/4 of a second back, it's Ken Mantovani, one of the most successful drivers down here in the Southeast in the Spec Corvette Series. Row number 2 will have Coconut Creek, Florida's Brian Boyd in the number 70, alongside of Malvern, Pennsylvania's David Sanders in car number 73. Row 3 will see Frank Reinhardt and Cecil Stevens out of Tampa, Florida, car numbers 53 and 17, respectively. Couple of hard chargers coming from row 3 on the grid. You do not want to miss the show these guys are going to put on. James Davison on the inside of row number 4, and to his outside, one of our West Region guys we're used to seeing, Ole Thorderson out of Denville, California. Row number 5, Robert Weston out of Elbert, Colorado, and Bruce Griffin from Tampa, Florida. Both of these guys about 4 seconds off the pace, but very, very close to each other. So again, tight battles throughout multiple sections of the Spec Corvette grid. Row number 6, Joseph Stoddard out of Winter Garden, Florida, lining up alongside of Ian Sullivan. Still right about in that same pack as the guys in row number 5. That could be a great 4-5 car battle throughout this race. Joel McGee out of Brooksville, Florida, alongside of Valrico, Florida's Brian Rabeau. McGee in the 66, Rabeau lining up in car number 54. 8th row of the grid, Dominic Rizzo in the 26 and Brandon Dennis in the 111. Dennis out of Bradenton, Florida. Big drag racing event there this weekend over on Flow Racing. Check that one out after you're done with this one. And on the final row of the grid will be the number 24 of David Clemens out of Roanoke, Virginia. Should be an absolutely spectacular race here. We are looking forward to it. Let's see. Field is getting doubled up and ready to go. And again, the Spec Corvettes are going to have their own wave of cars, and that's important because as they're taking off down into turn number 1, they're not going to be with any of the other classes, which basically means it's going to be, well, quite frankly, a dog pile of Corvettes making their way off into turn number 1. And I am here for every bit of it, too. Field really starting to get doubled up now. We'll get the timing tower up on the screen for you here so you can see where your favorites are. Oh, I love the sound of these All-American V8 iron. Oh, it is so darn spectacular. Seeing the first wave of cars come past the start-finish line, you see the green flag go up on timing and scoring. The clock has started, but our Spec Corvette guys are still running kind of down the back straightaway. They're going to head into sunset, and then they will come around to see the green flag. Get you the look up towards the front of the field on board with Frank Reinhardt. Up under the Michelin Bridge. Green flag goes in the air. Oh, they're already fanning out. Almost contact. Oh, that is such a great sight. Fantastic. Corvettes heading down off towards turn number 1. At the front, it looks like it might be Ken Mantovani grabbing the early lead. Little bit of tire smoke. Oh, man, that is so tricky through there. Such a slick part of the racetrack. Oh, little contact is the 125 of Bruce Griffin. Sliding down into Reinhardt. Oh, big move there by the 70. That's going to be Brian Boyd sliding up in front. Go on board here now with Joey Stoddard. Get a look at that side-by-side battle happening just ahead. Fight for the race lead is a good one as well. Side-by-side duel between Ken Mantovani, Marino Reyes. Oh, man, tires just squealing. Oh, and he's chirping the gears as they go. Man, those Nankang tires are getting a workout already out here on Sebring, and they're not up to temperature yet. That's one of the big ones. You're hearing Stoddard get up on the chip. Not necessarily trying to make a big effort to... You don't want to have to shift the gears too many times. More chances to break things inside the car. Let's go on board with Frank Reinhardt, screaming through the S's. Race leaders just up ahead, and they are 5-6 cars deep lined up here. Onto the backstretch for the first time, coming around. Looked like one of the Porsches. And this field is going to have to contend with traffic. Taking a look, overall 42 cars on the racetrack right now. GT1s are the only class ahead of these guys on the racetrack. Couple of differing lines there through Sunset. Maybe a little bit wider entry, kind of reverse diamond off the quarter and big to the throttle down the front stretch. Lap number 1 is going in the books. And it's going to be Ken Mantovani leading the field over Marino Reyes, David Sanders, Cecil Stevens, and Robert Weston, your top 5. Go on board here with Joel McGee. He's got a look at Brian Rabeau. And also Rayford Chambers in the 22 we're seeing here. I'm pretty sure that's Ole Thorderson, but maybe a driver change. We'll have to check on that one. This battle starting to settle down. Let's get back over to Frank Reinhardt. Top 6 cars, top 4 basically, all really nose to tail in a fantastic fight at the front of the field. 3 minutes, 45 seconds into this 20-minute sprint race. The one coming up this afternoon, a 30-minute feature race. But this one here, a chance to kind of get up on the gas here. You see some of the front of the field coming down past the start-finish line. Working their way through traffic. This little S's section, before you make the right-hander onto the back straightaway, so critically important to get right. Oh, man, they catch... Looks like an old NASCAR Cup car at a really bad spot for some of these guys. As Reinhardt going to have a look inside the 73 of David Sanders. He's down a couple of positions, getting caught up in the traffic. A lot of power there through Sunset, trying to catch the 17 of Cecil Stevens. Oh, the battle for the lead is tight. Almost side by side down the front straightaway as you see the field come under the start-finish line. Looks like a little bit of, I will say, moisture on the front of the 17. I don't know if that's kicked up from the side of the racetrack or maybe somebody putting some fluid out of their race cars. We'll grab on board here with Joey Stoddard. As Stoddard battling with Bruce Griffin in the 125 coming around. Like I said, it's like an old NASCAR Cup car. If you're familiar with what we do on the iRacing side of things, it's the ARCA car. Oh, back to Reinhardt here, though. He is right up underneath the 17 of Cecil Stevens. And you really don't want to hit your wipers to clear that stuff off the windshield, because quite frankly, it could just smear everything and just make it a disgusting mess. Got to thank everybody that's tuned in here on YouTube. One of our biggest shows of the year, as always, the Spec Corvettes. Make sure you give it a like, give it a share, get the comments in. We can get those up on the screen as well. Oh, man, big slide there out of Reinhardt. So the field now has 2 laps in the books. Still Marino Reyes. Actually, Reyes making the pass on that last lap. So Marino Reyes moving up to the top spot ahead of Ken Mantovani, Robert Weston, Cecil Stevens, and Frank Reinhardt, the top 5. 17 cars making it out to the grid here this morning. And Reyes back around Mantovani, that time by the start-finish line. These guys are trading laps led. Both drivers at the front setting their fastest laps of the race at 2:24.03 for Reyes, a 24:259 for Mantovani. Oh, hold up. We do have more cars coming on board here. Let's see. As soon as it reconnects, we're going to grab them up here. We're going on board with Bruce Griffin. Tight battle between Griffin and Brian Boyd. Making the run down under the Mobile One bridge. This is from the Sentinel camera system here, and unfortunately, it's going to drop out every so often here, but you can see, and once we get the feedback from Bruce, we'll pull it back up. You get a ton of data that these drivers have access to on board. Now, they can't see it, but the review post-race is absolutely huge for these guys. Because they do have the ability, like I said, to go back and see all the data, the throttle traces, the data systems, a lot of information these drivers have to work with. So field heading down the back straightaway in towards Sunset. Just about a month from now, this will be alive on a Sunday afternoon with the 12 hours of Sebring underway. Ken Mantovani around Marino Reyes, and it is a 1.3 second gap now between Mantovani and Reyes. Robert Weston up to third. He's your hard charger of the race. One of them anyway, up 3 positions. Cecil Stevens fourth, Frank Reinhardt completing the top 5. Things have definitely settled down here at the front. Go on board here with Joey Stoddard as he's battling the 124 of Ian Sullivan. This is the fight for position number 10. Stoddard going to have the look inside, exiting turn number 1. Not quite able to get enough throttle down, though, because it is a tight left-hander here at turn 2. And this early part of the track, the twisty bits on the early side, you absolutely have to nail that section, and it's all about smoothness. Get the car wide, arc it into the corner. You find that the speed comes not necessarily from I need more power, more brake, more tire, but even just a fine-tuning of driving line. And these are not professional drivers by any stretch of the imagination. Guys building fantastic cars that are a total blast to drive and quite frankly, an incredible community to hang out with. It's a just great hobby. If you're interested in getting involved in the Spec Corvette series, check them out, speccorvette.com. They have a whole list of sponsors and contingencies. You can see all the sponsor links down there in the description. And we will, we'll give you, well, actually, let's do this. We'll bring up the sponsor bug and show you that one. You'll see all those fine sponsor logos down on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The battle for Stoddard has settled down ever so slightly. Oh, baby, back end starting to twitch out ever so slightly. Go back on board with Frank Reinhardt. That windshield is getting wetter, messier, and everything else by the go here as we are just past the halfway point. 12 minutes, 50 seconds down, and Ken Manavani, still your race leader, but the gap has shrunk from 1.3 down to 0.6 seconds to Marino Reyes in second. Robert Weston, Cecil Stevens, and Frank Reinhardt continuing to hold on to your top 5 positions. Bruce Griffin getting around Brian Boyd that last time by the start-finish line. That's going to put Griffin up into position number 8. Riding along with Frank Reinhardt. He's fallen to about 1.3 seconds back of Cecil Stevens for the 4th position. Last lap, about a second slow, 9/10 slow for Reinhardt as compared to Stevens. You do the heavy battling early in the race. Everybody's still really close, really tight. And then you kind of just get settled in and you find your pace and you run your race. And a lot of times you're making up the ground when you're catching lap traffic at an inopportune time for the car ahead of you. It just forces them to slow up because you're not in a conducive passing zone. You get to take that passing zone a little bit quickly, or that section of the racetrack even. You get to take it a little bit faster than they do. Make yourself up a ton of ground. Let's go back over here on board with Joey Stoddard. As Stoddard catching that 124 of Ian Sullivan. We do have Bruce Griffin's camera back available to us as well. Back his noise down ever so slightly here. As Griffin doing battle with James Davidson. That's for the 7th position. And you can see these guys carrying 70, 80 miles an hour through some of these corners. Down that long back straightaway. Up over 100 miles an hour down towards Sunset at turn number 16. How about almost 130 miles an hour? Oh, got it a terrible time to catch that Porsche. Oh, you can see the hands just absolutely wiggling up in the upper left-hand corner. We do have a look at Bruce Griffin as well. You can see in the upper left-hand corner, the cockpit, the driver's view, what he's doing behind the wheel of that Chevrolet Corvette C5. On the upper right-hand corner, you got to look out the back as well. 15, almost 16 minutes down. Should be about 3 laps to go. But the clock runs off of when the race leader, overall leader, gets to the start-finish line. It'll be 20 minutes plus 1 lap Looking at the overall, they're already on lap number 7. Spec Corvette's working their 7th lap. Oh, I love it. Get up in the gear and you're hearing the back wheels chirp. Like we said, 380 bald eagles under the hood of these Corvettes, whether it's the LS. Oh, hold on to it, Bruce! Oh, what a save by Bruce Griffin! That car was sideways and wanting to wreck. Oh, man, and now he's going to have one right back up behind. Griffin is now going to have to deal, I think, with the 124 of Ian Sullivan, possibly. Yeah, there goes that 124 Machina Sullivan. He's going to come past. So Griffin now going to fall back to position number 9 as Stoddard comes around. Man, these Nankangs are begging for mercy out there now. See if Griffin will be able to take advantage. The draft is not necessarily going to be a thing here at Sebring, even with these long straightaways. God, Lord Almighty. Carrying 105 mile an hour through Sunset Bend. That's ridiculous. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll say when they got down to about 80 mile an hour or so through Sunset, but still, holy cow. You can hear him trying to nurse those tires through turn 1 that time. Really having to back the throttle down. Oh, look out that back window of Bruce Griffin's car. There is a pile of race cars wanting to get past this Spec Corvette. This is some of the race leading cars that are coming past. This is cars out of the GT1, SPO classes, GTX, GTA. More purpose-built race cars. As we are down to the final minute for race number 1, Ken Manavani still the race leader by 1.3 seconds over Marino Reyes. Weston Steven Sanders, your top 5. The 22 on pit lane. James Davison falling back to position. Oh, is one car going around? Oh my goodness. Didn't see who that was that spun ahead of your race leader. Excuse me, ahead of Bruce Griffin, I should say. Griffin running in position number 9. Man, Griffin has... He's got... I'm not sure. I don't think that's a Spec Corvette behind him. I can't tell. It's kind of, quite frankly, small on the screen that I'm looking on, but... Oh, there it is. Checkered flag is out at the start-finish line. So next time by, we'll have our race winners. Waiting to see the results as they come over the start-finish line. But it looks like Ken Mantovani will be your race winner over Marino Reyes. Robert Weston rounding out the podium. As soon as we get the update, the official update from timing and scoring, we'll be able to show you your race results. Love it. Street legal stock cars. What a shot. On board a Spec Corvette with a street legal NASCAR stock car. Just ahead of that, a couple of race prepared Porsches. I have to say a huge thank you to all of our drivers that have let us come on board with them for the race weekend and giving us a look inside of their offices. The street legal stock cars are definitely becoming a bigger class, especially with the Hendrick Track Attack cars that they are selling. You can basically buy a Hendrick Motorsports prepared NASCAR stock car. Has no heritage. It's not a vintage car. You're buying a brand new, kind of off-the-shelf race car. You see a field making their way down pit lane. They will head in to the garage area. We may have a victory podium for you here as well. I believe that's coming after the feature race, though. But once again, got to say a huge thank you to everybody that's tuned in here on YouTube. Hit the like button, give it a share if you enjoyed the show. We will be back for the feature race coming up just a little bit later on this afternoon. The schedule says 3:30 or so, but this race was also scheduled to go off at 10:30, and that was about 10:55 is when this race got off to a green flag start. Keep your eye out. We'll get the stream up and have the coming soon cards and all that kind of stuff up on the screen for you. Basically, once we see all the drivers heading out to the starting grid, or at least into the staging area, that's when we'll get the show up for you. Let me see, on board with Bruce Griffin here. We'll do one more hot take over and pick up Joey Stoddard as he pulls his car back into the pit area. Like I said, as soon as, well, okay, the graphics, the timing and scoring system has not updated yet, but we will give you your full race results. These are provisional, awaiting, tech inspection and all that kind of stuff, but in the sprint race today, Ken Mantovani picking up the win over Marino Reyes and Robert Weston. Cecil Stevens, David Sanders complete your top 5. 6 through 10, Frank Reinhart, Brian Boyd, Bruce Griffin, Ian Sullivan, and Joseph Stoddard. Brian Rabeau finishing in the 11th position, 12th to Joel McGee, 13th Dominic Rizzo, 14th David Clemens, 15th to Brandon Dennis. It says Rayford Chambers, but I'm pretty sure it's Ole Thorderson. But either Rayford Chambers or Ole Thorderson finishing in the 16th position. And James Davidson rounds out the field in the 17th position. So with that, we are going to, well, we're going to get ready to head out of here anyway. But first, we have to make sure we say a huge thank you to everybody who helps make these broadcasts possible. Spec Corvette Series relies on a variety of sponsors to get their programs running, their cars up and running. And today's National Racing Network production of the Spec Corvette Series has been presented by G-Stream Aerodynamics. You can find them online at g-stream.com. improvedracing.com. Penske Racing Shocks, they are online at penskeshocks.com. Well, let's see here. Let's get to next. Sparco, providing some of the best safety equipment in the world. You can find them at sparcousa.com. TPS Motorsports, well, at tpsmotorsports.com. turn1steering.com. Things to slow these race cars down, the big old Willwood brakes. You can find them online at willwoodbrakes.com. Also, a big thank you to Spec Motorsports, trackspecmotorsports.com, providing a lot of the aerodynamic and bolt-on type parts, and as well the presenting sponsor of the Spec Corvette Series, Nankang Motorsports Tires. Every one of these cars is on a Nankang tire today, and quite frankly, you saw the performance you get out of them. Check them out online at nankangmotorsport.com. An absolutely fantastic show out of the Spec Corvette Series. This one has been a wild, wild show, and we are looking forward to more of that coming up here this afternoon. You don't want to miss it. We're going to have a pile more cameras coming up for you as well. But with that, it's time for us to get the heck on out of here. We are looking forward to getting ready for some football action this afternoon. But first, we're doing more Spec Corvette Series racing. So until this afternoon, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you later. Have a great day.
I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.